Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut through the noise of security intelligence. Today, we're zeroing in on the Portal Fuze Weekly Security Update Report, the Windows and Edge edition, for July 23rd to July 29th, 2025. Now, this report, it's basically a really helpful digest of MSRC posts and Microsoft support docs. It's all about helping sysadmins, security pros, well, helping you, get to those critical KB articles and updates faster. So our mission today: let's pull out the absolute must-know security pieces from this report, give you a clear path to understanding, and more importantly, to action. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, absolutely. And keeping up with these weekly reports is not just, good practice anymore. It's really essential given how fast things change. This report does a great job helping busy Microsoft professionals, like many of you listening, stay current without digging through tons of pages. It spots the key security issues, new features too sometimes. So, yeah, we'll focus on giving you those actionable insights.
Definitely. And it's interesting, even though this is the Windows and Edge edition, the big story this week, it really lands on Microsoft Edge. The report flags a couple of pretty significant vulnerabilities there. We need to get right into those. First up is CVE-2025-8011. Now, this one actually comes from the Chromium project. It was assigned by Chrome, and it's called a type confusion in V8 vulnerability. The key thing here, and this is fundamental, is that Edge is built on Chromium. It just ingests it, which means, well, it means it can inherit vulnerabilities from the Chromium open source project. And the impact here could be serious. An attacker might be able to use this to run their own code, arbitrary code, as the logged-in user.
Right. And that term, type confusion in V8, it's worth digging into just a bit more, especially for this audience. What it really means, precisely, is the V8 JavaScript engine gets tricked. The program logic sort of misinterprets what kind of data it's dealing with. Imagine it expects a number, but it actually gets, say, a pointer to something else, and it just runs with it like it was a number. That confusion, that mistake, can corrupt memory. And that's the opening attackers look for. They can potentially manipulate memory, maybe overwrite parts of it, to execute their own code.
Okay, so that's how they get from a confusion to actually running code.
Exactly. And once they can run code inside the browser process, well, they effectively have the user's access level within that browser session. That could mean stealing data, installing malware, maybe trying to jump to other parts of the system. We see V8 exploits used quite a bit in the wild. Sometimes it's the first step in a bigger attack chain,
Yeah.
like those drive-by downloads where just visiting a bad site could be enough. It's definitely not just theoretical.
That really clarifies the danger. So CVE 2025-8011, type confusion in V8 coming from Chromium. It sort of feels like these things might come in pairs, or there might be related issues.
That's a really good intuition, you're right. Especially with a core component like V8, if there's one type confusion bug found, sometimes others surface around the same time or through similar analysis. And in this case, yes, the report details a second one, CVE 2025-8010. It's also a type confusion and V8 vulnerability, also assigned by Chrome. And just like 8011, it affects Edge because Edge uses those Chromium parts. So both CVE 2025-8011 and CVE 2025-8010, they carry that same critical risk we talked about, arbitrary code execution in the user's context.
Okay, two of them then.
Both series. And Microsoft's response, according to the report, was pretty direct. They pushed out a security update for Edge. Importantly, this update folds in the necessary fixes that came directly from the Chromium project upstream. It really highlights how interconnected things are. A fix in Chromium needs to flow down quickly to browsers like Edge.
Got it. So for everyone listening, the sysadmins, the Intune admins dealing with potentially hundreds or thousands of machines faced with these two vulnerabilities, this risk of arbitrary code execution, what's the absolute must-do step right now? How do they mitigate this effectively?
Okay, the guidance here is really straightforward and urgent. The number one action, the most critical step to deal with both CVE 2025-8011 and CVE 2025-8010 is simple. Get your Microsoft Edge installations updated. Update them to the very latest version and do it now. Don't wait. For those of you using Intune, this means double-checking your update rings, your policies, make sure this patch is rolling out fast, maybe even consider accelerating your normal browser update schedule just for this one, given the severity.
So speed is key here.
Absolutely. Even with change management, testing is vital, of course, but an arbitrary code execution risk like this should probably trigger a faster assessment and deployment. The report points you to the documentation you'll need. You can check the Google Chrome releases page for the background, but specifically for Edge, look for the Microsoft Edge release note from July 25th, 2025. The URL is in the report. It ends with hashtag July 25, 2025. Now that will have the details on the Edge version that includes these fixes from Chromium, and it hammers home that point again. Because Edge relies on Chromium, these upstream security updates are directly relevant. You have to apply them. Ignoring them is like leaving a known vulnerability unpatched. Your other defenses are great. EDR, network rules, fantastic. But patching the browser itself is your first, most direct line of defense here.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you listening right now? Let's boil it down. The immediate focus this week, the main action item, is your Microsoft Edge browsers. You really need to prioritize getting Edge updated everywhere to tackle these critical type confusion vulnerabilities at CVE 2025-8011 and CVE 2025-8010. Both stem from Chromium's V8 engine. The message is crystal clear. Get all your Edge installs updated. Promptly. Completely.
And digging into these specific Edge issues, it does bring up a broader sort of strategic thought, doesn't it? Beyond just applying this patch, it makes you consider the whole model. How does this ongoing reliance, of major browsers like Edge on these big open source foundations like Chromium's V8, how does that shape our overall security posture day to day? It points to this shared responsibility almost, where critical fixes might actually originate outside the vendor, Microsoft in this case, even though they package and deliver it.
That's a really interesting point.
Yeah, and it implies we need a really agile, very responsive patch management strategy, right? You have to watch multiple sources, integrate fixes quickly. It's just the reality of how interconnected modern software is, and it definitely keeps things challenging from a security maintenance perspective.
A really important point to keep in mind as we manage these systems. And that brings us to the end of this particular deep dive, focused on the Portal Fuze weekly security update report. We really hope this gave you the clarity and the specific actions you need to take for this week. Until next time, stay secure and keep digging deep.